The Season 6 PTR is about to be launched. There is a lot of really big and really new changes that are coming to this PTR. This season is actually ramping up to look like it has potential to be the very best season that has ever been launched in Diablo 4. We have a ton of quality of life changes that we're going to get to. We have some new changes to skills, new changes to classes. It is going to be a big one. The PTR is launching on December 3rd. I will be there at the launch of the PTR. We're going to be highlighting the Barbarian and all of the massive changes to Earthquake. From what it looks like, it is going to possibly bring Barbarian back up to the top. But we'll see what all of the other awesome changes that they're bringing to all of the classes are going to be. We're going to start today with all of the rank 5 ultimate skill bonuses in Diablo 4 getting changed. What this is going to do, when you put 5 points into your ultimate skills, you'll now get a bonus. Instead of it just reducing the cooldowns, you now have the chance to get an additional power. Let's highlight each of the classes. We're going to start with the Barbarian. For Wrath of the Berserker, when you put 5 points in, now instead of knocking the enemies back, it's going to pull everything in and it's going to do damage itself. There are ways to increase the damage done by ultimates. There's also buffs that you're going to get from ultimates doing damage. So we're going to see what is going to happen when we start using Wrath of the Berserker doing damage instead of just knocking things back and giving you additional damage. Call of the Ancients, rank 5, 40% movement speed and 20% distant damage reduction. It'll make you faster, gonna give you some more DR. Iron Maelstrom, your damage is gonna be increased by 80% of your damage to injured and healthy bonuses. Who knows, maybe this will bring Iron Maelstrom into the spotlight for the very first time ever. Never ever been used as a build that has really been viable. Maybe this will do it. For the Druid, Lacerate. The damage is going to be increased by 40% of your critical strike damage bonus once you hit rank 5. Cataclysm slows the surrounding enemies by 70% for 8 seconds. And then Petrify resets all of your non-ultimate skill cooldowns. You get that Petrify cooldown up fast enough, you are going to be spamming all of your cooldowns. That is a pretty big buff right there. For the Necromancer, Soul Rift. Every 30 souls consumed refills one of your healing potions with the lifeblood of your tortured victims. Army of the Dead. Damage is increased by 125% of your skeleton mage and golem damage bonuses. Blood Wave. Damage is increased by 100% of your damage while healthy and damage while fortified bonuses. And Bone Storm. Damage is increased by 60% of your critical strike damage bonus. For the Rogues, Death Trap. This will have a new functionality. Enemies are pulled into Death Trap when it's activated. The rank 5 bonus is in addition to this new functionality. Rain of Arrows. The damage is going to be increased by 100% of your damage to distant bonuses. For your Sork, Deep Freeze. Damage is increased by 40% of your vulnerable damage bonus. Inferno. Enemies with Inferno are vulnerable. Unstable Currents will stun surrounding enemies for 3 seconds. Spiritborn. The Protector. Protector is going to pulse 100% of your Thorns damage to enemies every second. The Seeker. Damage is increased by 50% of your critical strike and your vulnerable damage bonus. The Hunter. Initial damage will execute injured non-boss enemies. That includes elites, it looks like. The Devourer. Damage is increased by 150% of your healing received bonus. When I leveled as a Poison Spiritborn, the Devourer was probably one of my favorite ultimates to use, so I'm excited to see some changes, and hopefully this will come back as a main ultimate skill for this next season. So that's it for the ultimates. We're going to be looking now at item restrictions. What this change is going to do. Tempered affixes restricted to specific classes. That means that in the season that we currently have, when you go into any piece of gear that has a temper from another class, it will show that an X on the item that you cannot use it. That will be changing in Season 7. The piece of gear will still actually be usable, which is kind of cool because then you can take pieces of gear that may be really, really good minus 1 affix line and give it to your alt to use until you find a better piece of gear. How this is going to work. Items that have affixes that are class specific are no longer class restricted. Instead, this specific affix is now going to be class restricted. How this will look is that it will show a disabled tooltip along that specific affix. So as we look at items, they will have specific lines that will say disabled. For example, if you take a piece of gear from the Barbarian that has a damage to injured temper on it, and then you put that on a Necromancer, only that line that says damage to injured will have a disabled function on it. The rest of the piece of gear will still be usable to the class. You'll still get all of the benefits of having all of the other affixes. You just will not have the damage to injured. So there's a whole list of different tempers that will not be available on all of the other classes. They can still show up when you take that piece of gear off your main and you put it onto your alt, but they will be disabled. The next quality of life change that we're going to talk about, and this one, I don't know why it took so long, but I'm really glad that they're doing it. We will be able to stack Infernal Horde compasses. Compasses will now stack based on their tier, and the maximum count is 99. Now we can have one stack of 6 tiers, one stack of 8 tiers, and one stack of 10 tiers. This is going to be huge. On your Eternal characters, if you want to use them, your old compasses will now become broken compasses. How that's going to work, those compasses now can be consumed to generate random compasses from them. The acquisition rate of the Infernal Horde compasses has been adjusted. The chance to acquire one from a greater Helltide chest has been increased. The chance for an Infernal Horde compass to drop from the following sources has been decreased: Whispers, Nightmare Dungeons, Lesser Helltide chests, and the pits. So they're changing around the way that it's going to take to get them. In the current season, I haven't ran out of compasses. Everybody that I've talked to has tons and tons and tons of compasses. So at the very beginning stages of the season, hit Helltides, go open the greater chests. That will be the best way to get into the Infernal Hordes once you hit Torment 1. New Whisper caches have been added, collection keys. This will include 3 Infernal compasses and 3 Nightmare Dungeon sigils. This is giving you a guaranteed chance to get your Infernal Horde compasses and Nightmare Dungeon sigils. That means now when you go to turn in your Whispers, look out for the key collection one, because that's going to be the best way to start off your journey into the Infernal Hordes. We're getting a bunch of changes to Nightmare Dungeons. I'm hoping that Nightmare Dungeons will start to become more prevalent as it goes. I love running Nightmare Dungeons. What they're going to be doing, they're going to be bringing back some affixes into the Nightmare Dungeons in the form of elemental totems. They're going to have a cold totem. Any enemies that will be standing in range of that totem will now apply slow and vulnerable to players that are hit by those enemies. Demonic totem. Affected monsters now move and attack faster. Spirit totem. Affected monsters revive once when killed, and the revived monsters don't grant any loot or extra experience as you kill them. Monsters will only have the buff inside of that totem area. The totem will decrease and go away after 20 seconds. You can target and kill the totems. So as you're running through Nightmare Dungeons, if you don't want to have to deal with any of these affixes, you just target the totem, kill the totem, and then you no longer have to worry about any of those affixes. Make sure you look out for your experience wells as you go. They're going to be in Nightmare Dungeons still. There were a couple bugs with them, so hopefully they get those fixed this season. Additional changes that are going to be impacting the Nightmare Dungeons. As we just talked about, 3 Nightmare Dungeon sigils will drop from the key collections at the Tree of Whispers. So that's going to be important getting into your Nightmare Dungeons to start off. We have a brand new rotation of Nightmare Dungeons, and not just a small one, a massive one. This is actually going to be really beneficial because this will help us get our Whispers more often. More Whispers equals more keys for the Infernal Hordes. So as you go through, the base game has a whopping 70 Nightmare Dungeons, and then the new region of Nahantu has 16. This is going to be awesome because now you open up your map, you find a Nightmare Dungeon, you look in your bags for a sigil, chances are you're going to have that sigil. Some of the really, really great ones came back. Champion's Demise is here. Personal favorite, Mercy's Reach is back. Sirocco's Cavern, Sarat's Lair, just to name a couple. There's a lot of really great changes and a lot of new ones that are coming back. We talked a little bit about the Tree of Whispers caches. Now, let's talk about the Tree of Whispers itself. What they're going to be doing is the Tree of Whispers will now be a proper town. It's about time. Everybody always comes here to turn in your Whispers, so we might as well make it into a full-fledged town so you can set this as your favorite, and then every time that you come here, we'll get those changes. It's going to be really, really cool. So note from the developers, we've updated the town around the Tree of Whispers. We added some more services to it because we expect you to be returning to it a lot more this season. We've changed the layout a little bit to make it a little bit more convenient to navigate, and move the waypoint so it's quicker to get to the Tree of Whispers and turn things in. That's going to be great changes for this season. This is the current layout, so we'll get to see exactly what it looks like when this goes live on December 3rd. We had some new runes. Now, pronouncing runes is always one of those things that I'm always wary about, but the Chalk rune requires 20 offerings, invokes the Druid's lightning bolt striking nearby enemies. I know that there were a bunch of abilities that when I was playing a Druid last season, that if I had lightning bolt, I could have done additional damage. This might actually allow you to do some of those abilities without having the need to actually spec into lightning bolt. Igni, gain 25 offerings, stores offerings every 0.3 seconds, cast a non-basic skill to gain the stored offerings. We'll have to see where this rune fits in, but basically you're going to be storing up some stuff so that you can get an overflow. Every time that you cast something that is a non-basic skill, so a core skill or a weapon mastery skill on a barbarian, something like that, you're going to use all of the stored offerings that you have, and with some of the changes that they're making, overflow of offerings is going to add additional bonuses. Nagu, you're going to gain 100 offerings, maintain at least one active summon for 5 seconds, gaining offerings for each up to 6 summons. Now, if I'm reading this right, and you're playing something like a Necromancer or a Druid, or anything that is going to have abilities to summon other things up to 6 of them, you can get up to 600 offerings every 5 seconds. This could end up being really, really strong. We'll have to see, again, like I said, what build it plays into, but this could be a big one. There is a ton of changes coming to the already active runes. I'll have this in the link of the description of this video, so make sure you check it out if you want to see what all of the changes are, but they have changed a lot. They have some bug fixes, fix an issue where the teleport from the Jaw rune did not grant unstoppable. They fix an issue where damage increase from the Cax rune can be increased by 200% instead of 100%. They adjusted it so the augment cache runes are now guaranteed to drop in torment difficulties, and the amount scales with your torment tiers. They also adjusted the chance for runes to be legendary or rare from defeating tormented bosses, so that is going to be a good change. If you want to see all of this, click the link in the description in the video and check out this site here. The next thing we're going to cover is going to be some of the gem fragment changes. As you all know, they already made an update to the gem fragments. We were capped out for a long time, and we just had the ground littered with gems. It just looked like this. They increased it, so now we have a massive cap, but that's actually going to change. What they're going to be doing, which is really, really cool, that gem fragments will be able to be crafted into legendary rings and amulets. That's going to have the possibility of getting ancestral legendaries at higher difficulties. The developers note that there have been a pass through the gem fragment drops next season to decrease the totals overall and adding gem fragments conversion as a comparison. They're going to be changing how this works, which is going to be really cool. Amulets and rings are always something that is very sought after. Now we have another way to get those. So those are just a small fragment of all of the changes that are coming into this PTR and in Season 7. They're all subject to change. Once the PTR is done, we've given all the feedback we can, and we hop into Season 7. But I'm super excited to see what this season brings. I'm live every night. Stop by, say hi, theorycraft with me. Catch you on the clip side.